Hello, hello, hello. I hope you're all having a great day today. Slightly bit late on this live, but I'm here. I think that's the most important. I'm Stina, and I'm looking forward to hang out with you guys today. And we are going to work and hopefully finish up the Daisy Daze bag. If we'll succeed, who knows? But we will do our best attempt getting there. I am just wrapping up the last few bits here to make sure that I'm all ready. I am still on the basic backend stream from YouTube as my streaming software is still failing to work, but I've ordered a new computer, so hopefully we should be there quite soon. That is at least the hope. So let's see. So as I said, we do have the Daisy Daze bag that I do plan to work on. And I'm just checking I have the right pattern. So it's not the UK version, but the US version. And that is very nice since there are different terminology. Let's see, US English. And we are having done the first row of double crochets, and I'm just finding the top section here. Good. So hello, Susan. Wonderful to see you here. Absolutely great. As I said, I am ready for continuing here on the Daisy Daze bag. I did enter the bottom, so we do actually have a physical bottom now in this bag. Ta-ta! It's sewn together, and we are working on a little bit of height before we have to add the sides for the straps. So that is something I'm definitely looking forward to. Should we manage to finish off this bag today, then I still have a new rib knit beanie. We also have the Simply Yet Effective cowl. If those happen to work up brilliantly fast, which probably they don't, I'm going to be realistic here. I do have actually caked up some yarn for a new project, which is for crochet. And that is for the, what is it named again? The waffle chick shrug. You know, that lovely bluish, royal blue. So I caked up the first skein for that. So technically, I could start on it, but I do need some measurements, and I will need to read some pattern stuff. And I have to say, I haven't done the waffle stitch yet. For some reason, it's not a stitch I've done yet. So I will have to do a bit of research on that. And therefore, it's probably not ideal for today's live. But yeah, we will see. We will see. The goal, as I said, I think I'll just focus on finishing this bag, because another item finished would be very, very nice. The next row I have to do, I believe, is single crochets. So we have to turn it around and do single crochets, top section, blah, 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 blah. I did this. Finish around with the slip stitch. Okay, I forgot to do the slip stitch part, but tiny detail. Work alternately one round of single crochets from the wrong side and one round of crochets from the right side with one stitch in each stitch for 5 centimeters. So that's basically like we did the bottom, and I'm gonna keep the top part as the top part is expected to be. And good morning, Revenant, and good afternoon, Hella. Great to see you all. Revenant says he finished his last project yesterday and he started a corner-to-corner blanket. Nice. New projects, new yarns. What colors are your corner-to-corner blanket in? For all curiosity's sake. And for those that did not miss, or those that did miss the very, very start, even though we are not many yet, I ordered my new computer. it will be a few days before it's here, and then I will need some time to set it up. And I'm not really much home this weekend. So if I'm lucky and it arrives, let's say Friday, but they haven't shipped it yet. I haven't gotten the confirmation they have shipped it yet. And it's going to be at least a 2 to 3 day shipping. So maybe I'll first have it Saturday. And then I definitely won't have time. And then we're looking at next week. And I don't know how much time I'll have by then. So it could be, it's going to be another week and a half. But we will have to see. We have to start somewhere. So he is doing the Red Heart, the Bitty Stripes crayon box as coloring for this quarter blanket. Nice, nice, nice. The sad news is, my friends, Hobbii doesn't do birthday gift cards anymore. I am rather sad about that, but I didn't receive any. My mom pretty much verified she did not get any, so I am very sure that is indeed the case. And my suspicion is that they probably haven't done these since last summer when they closed down for the Hobbii Plus membership. That is what I suspect. That said, I was so lucky that indeed the Hobbii Twister Salad were on sale. So I did go ahead and order my yarn. And hopefully, oh, come on, don't split on me. Hopefully that will be the only yarn. That sounds wrong. I think I'm going to do this one, this single stitch differently. Hopefully that is going to be the only yarn that I will order. This year, or not much. And I, of course, also did go ahead and get myself some Poet Store yarn because, of course, I don't want my poets to expire. So, yes, I have not, I wouldn't say my goal was to not buy yarn this year, but my goal is still to decrease my stash. And for that part, I would say that I'm still in movement for that. Because the amount of yarn that I purchased shouldn't, on normal working circumstances, based on the average for the last 2 years, looking at my labels consumption, so to say, yarn label consumption, it's about 3 months of yarn-ish. So I should still be able to decrease if I don't get too much more yarn. So I'm still optimistic. Yeah, but at the end, I'll decrease, Susan. At the end, I'll decrease. That's how we have to look at it. For those unfamiliar with this yarn, here is a swatch. Oh, that is gorgeous. Let's see, I need to share screen and pop over this one, and then we'll that one, and here we go. That is the yarn that Revenant is using. It is a knit swatch, but it is the yarn he's using for his corner-to-corner blanket. I do like the coloring of this. It's a bit rainbowish. That is nice. But yeah, it's valid to say I temporarily did increase my stash. I did indeed temporarily increase my stash. Yes. Yeah. Sad but true. But hopefully there are some things that I need less of this year. So hopefully, indeed, in the end, I will have decreased my stash. Now that would be very neat indeed. Or at least maybe some of the items in my stash. I still have some beanies laying around, etc. And I think I may try on the local marketplace as well. We are also getting a finished object, which is one more gorgeous blanket. So I am just going to share again shortly. I just need a moment to do so. Because again, it takes time in this backend, but allows it. Oh, not that one. That one. This is a standard rectangular granny blanket made with the Premier Just Yarn Umbre in the colorway Eggplant. Umbre yarns are nice, aren't they? I could imagine that would probably also be very nice just for classic hexicardy or something like that. But it's looking nice for sure. But not as big as the big project from December, which is just underneath. I was spotting that one. Susan says I only have one skein of bitty stripes that I got in a mystery box, so it will most likely be a knit hat scarf. That makes good sense, Susan. I don't have any of that because again we're talking US yarns. I could buy some of them on Amazon, but it's probably way overpriced because either it has to be shipped from across the pond or yeah, or it's already in Europe, and then because it's not very available here, yeah, prices go there after and so forth. But I can imagine the same goes for some of the European yarns in the US, especially these days, because that yellow-haired man or yellow-faced man or whatever you should call him, he is definitely on a rampage, huh? Not that I do want to talk politics, but I can tell you one thing. I am not very pleased right now because obviously I am a Danish native. That means that I am from Denmark. And he believes he can go buy a head territory in Greenland. Yeah, no, not happening. Obviously not. People aren't for sale. And I really, really enjoy a phrase that our friend Mr. Affairs was saying, which is, you can trade with people, but you don't trade people, which I think is a really, really nice one. Anyhow, that was my small little hiccup. And that, of course, means that because Denmark again said no, like I don't know how many times, because as again we say, you can trade with people, you can't trade people. Tariffs are again on a rise, and it will be increased. And the thing is, this time, opposed to last year when the tariffs came the first time around on European goods, we were kind of expecting here in Europe that we would counter that from an American perspective. But this time around, I think they will. They didn't do it last spring, which was surprising. But this time, I think they will, because EU is now pissed the fuck off, to say the least. So I've used 3 skeins, a bit about 1,800 yards for that one, which is exactly what Susan is asking. And Ramana is now saying he has 8 skeins of the bitty stripes in crayon box, so it will be rather large, going 4 up, 4 down in corner to corner. Okay, well, good luck. I'd just say, you'll see when you're about through the first 4 skeins where you are. And that's where you'll probably have to start decreasing, or towards the end of the 4th skein, to ensure you have enough, right? And then you'll see how big it goes. But it will definitely be big enough. Reverend is very kind to apologize for the insane government that was stolen by extremists. It certainly feels like it, doesn't it? It very much does feel like it. And yeah, there are many theories behind, but I guess we can all go crazy thinking about that. Bottom line is that the people in Greenland are supposed to decide what they want to do, and they're quite clear about not wanting to be American. No offense to America, but the reality is just probably that the social net, security net in Denmark is much better, like free healthcare, free education, as long as you pay your tax, obviously, and things like that, right? And that is definitely not what you get in the US. That is a completely other world. Um, so I can imagine some of that has to do with it as well. Um, and we will just have to see. I even know people right now, actually Danish people in the US, and one of them is a student there. She's a student at a university in Florida, and I don't know. I wonder how that goes. I hope basically that they don't get too impacted by all this craziness that's going on in the world. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. Anyhow, here I am cracking along on this bag. It is a bunch of single crochets right now, so it's 132 to be more exact. So we'll work on that. I do see that the bag is a little bit skewed in the form, and that's probably due to the granny squares. Also, I didn't block them. And I'm sitting in hindsight thinking maybe I should have, but yeah, I don't know. It is cotton, so I could have blocked them. Cotton does have some memory. But I was thinking, yeah, I could also just probably do that towards the end, because then I know how much I need to extra stretch to make it nice. So I have undecided the blocking part of this bag. And again, with wear and tear, it will align up, I think. Susan says she donated 20 knit hats to her local food bank yesterday, both hand knit chunky and central 48 pin needle machines. Wow, 20. You have been a busy woman, Susan. Really. I definitely can't crank out that many hats. Point one, I don't have a knitting machine. Point two, I actually only knit on my hat for when we are being social. A sense of like if I'm in the car or if I'm by the TV, because it's a project where I don't need to think a lot. So it's a great project. And if I'll be good this year and I keep projects like that, maybe I'll actually end up spending more yarn this year than I did last year or using. And then I should definitely be able to decrease my stash. So hey. I am optimistic. I am very optimistic. And I did start the last, we were doing some math last time, right? On the double knit rip. So double knit, double purl, 2 knit, 2 purl beanie. And I did start on it on 56 stitches. So I should have enough yarn on that. And this is a current progress. That is the first baby skein used, because as you can see, here is the loose end, and that is about this much rolled up. So that makes this, and then I have this full skein, which is not really a full skein left. And let's just for funsies quickly measure how big this one is in inches, right? Before we continue. We are at 4 inches. So I'll definitely get another 4 inches out of this one, I think. Unless I started with the bigger of the two, there was 1 gram difference. And then we will I'll start working on the end here once this one is finished. and I'll just keep working until I guess there's no more yarn left. It is definitely a bit smaller. Tune it to rip does crank it up a little bit more in the sense of it tightens a bit more, but it's still very stretchy and flexible. So I still think it's going to be fine for medium wear. There are definitely some local shelters for homeless people in the bigger cities around me. There are, by this I mean 10 kilometers north of south, where I could option to contact them and see if they might be interested in the products which I don't deem sellable. Because the thing is, obviously, I think the quality and the feel to whatever I make should be good enough to sell. And if it's not, it will be gifted away, basically. That is the concept of it. Susan says she's been making chunky knit hats out of every type of yarn mixed together. It's so fun to see how different yarn looks knitted together into hats. Oh, most definitely. So I still have, if you had watched my yarn talk video from last week, Friday, you will notice that I definitely have a few more scrap is wrong, mill end ice yarns. And I think the plan is for all of those skeins to turn into some kind of rib knit beanie. May need a little bit different needle sizes. I might need to size down simply due to the very easy fact that the yarn is thinner. So we'll have to look at that. This one went into that. So I should probably count my stitches just to make sure, but I should in theory have 132 stitches now. Sure, make stripes. I could make stripes, or I'll just keep doing whatever I'll do. I could also just be that I double hold them together, and it makes this marbled version, right? I just need to do some counting. Do apologize for a minute. 2, 4, whoopsie daisy. Can I really count this? Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's counting easier from the other side. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. 2, 4, 6, 8, 40. 2, 4, 6, 8, 60. 2, 4, 6, 8, 70. 2, 4, 6, 8, 80. 2, 4, 6, 8, 90. 2, 4, 6, 8, 100. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. It's way more than that. Did I miss something? I have a feeling I missed something. Yikes, because I definitely didn't do that many. I had exactly 22 in each. That started there. Christ. I'll recount. And if I cut to the same, that's probably because that's how it is then. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 60. Yeah, I probably forgot 60. 2, 4, 8, 70. 2, 4, 8, 80. 2, 4, 8, 90. 2, 4, 8, 100. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. How did I get there? How can that be? I have no clue. I genuinely have no clue. Maybe I can't count. That's very valid. That is very valid. It's very possible I can't count for my life. You know what? I think this is indeed the collecting piece. So that's what I'm gonna go with. It's yeah. Fun days. Good that this isn't a tutorial, huh? Being like, now you should have so many stitches, and well, I don't have that, but we'll just keep going on. I don't know how that came around, but whatever. It's how it is. I'm fine with it, I guess. So there we have a stacked double, which does count as a stitch. And then that's a joining stitch, so that would be the last stitch, and I should be able to go into this one theoretically. Then it's double crochets all the way around, so we'll do that. I'm currently crocheting thin 3.5mm hook mystery linen cotton silk multicolor yarn into V-stitch vortex as recommended by Alan's Crochet channel. Free pattern on Ravelry. I love boomerang shawls. Okay. To do. So I am definitely looking forward to starting on the shrug for sure. I also have a vest I want to start on, and I've been partially inclined to maybe start on the vest earlier than the shrug, but in hindsight, I should just get started on the shrug. It really shouldn't matter. And the reason for that is, you know, it takes less yarn to make the vest because it's thicker and yeah, it's less work. I do think, though, that we will use up the skein today. So one more skein gone from my stash. Hallelujah. We like. Well, that is not a double crochet. That was a single crochet you were doing there. So we'll unravel and do the double. I'm not really sure what's happening outside right now. Somebody's making noise somewhere on the street. I did have a good weekend. Not a lot of things happened, but I did have an okay weekend. And that is definitely positive. So, and as you can see from last time, I did manage to finish this bottom, where I sewed together the bottom and I started on this top part. And I cast on for that double rip knit beanie. The weather in New Jersey right now is sunny with a temperature of 6 degrees Fahrenheit. That is cold. Holy crickets. Negative 40 degrees Celsius. Wow. Stay indoor. The wind is blowing from south at 3 miles per hour and the current humidity is 79. That is chilly. I think you just got some of the Atlantic wind of the Antarctic or Arctic wind down, huh? Polar winds. That is chilly. Here it's plus degrees. So I'm like, it's probably like, I don't know, in the 40s is a good guess. Let's see whether, if that is, I need to enter in the chat, of course. But let's see what local weather is. I can tell you it's sunny right now and it looks to be free of clouds. So I do expect it to say sunny to some extent, or maybe mildly cloudy or something like that. It says mostly cloudy. I disagree, but that is from the view I have here. It could be the clouds are coming. We are mostly cloudy with a temperature of 45 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's 7 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from east-southeast at 10 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 64. Susan says they're supposed to get a bunch of snow on Sunday. Here it's cooling down again. We're going to get freezing temperatures, but not as bad as what you have right now. It's just going to go below zero. But yeah, not much we can do about that. Anyhow, I need to continue with this. So 1 row double crochet, 1 row single crochet until this piece measures 5 centimeters from this edge. So from here to there. And I need probably to end on a single crochet row. I wouldn't be surprised otherwise. Right now we are at 3-ish. So a good guess would be I need to do 1 more row of singles, 1 more row of doubles, 1 more row of singles. So that would be 4 more. Removing this total 4 more rows. And then we will need to look at how to make those straps or the sides of it, which is going to be reading the pattern as we go, because I don't know yet. But I am sure we will find a way. I feel rather confident about that. Yeah, so further than that, there isn't the craziest things going on. No, it's just been chill work, basically. Plan is to ideally go to the fitness tonight, but it could be I need to postpone for tomorrow. It depends if my fitness clothes are dry, because I did wash it this morning and it's quite now right hanging to dry. So if it's dry, I will likely pop by the fitness after dinner. And now when we are talking about dinner, I'm not sure what your dinner plans are for today, but here we are just going to do a very classic spaghetti bolognese. So that is the plans for once I'm done here with the stream, is that I am going to go into the kitchen and make some pasta. Are you having your dinner plans made yet? If so, what are the plans? Or are you still looking for inspiration? If so, do share what you currently have in your fridge or freezer that you would want to be using, and maybe we can give you some inspirational ideas while we sit down and crochet and just crank on our projects. And I keep rambling. Which one could say that? I don't know. If you haven't gotten it yet, by the way, it's time to hydrate. I have my favorite mug of tea here, and today it is the last sachet I had of my Lipton Forest Fruit. Still good. Remnant says, I made a big pot of chicken gnocchi soup yesterday, so I will be having that with a ciabatta roll. So basically leftovers from yesterday, which sounds like absolutely lovely tasting leftovers. We will definitely also be eating 2 days from this, which I'm making today. We are a 2-person household. And reality is just that it is cheaper to cook for 4 than it is to cook for 2. So I've actually always done that. And a lot of the things, we do have things where you can like buy the spices or stuff like that for stews and pots. And these often are meant for 4 people. So like 2 parents and 2 kids. That said, we are not the biggest eaters in this house. So we can often just make a meal like that last for 2 days. And sometimes there are still leftovers. So yeah, that is generally how we do things. Dun, 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 dun. Rose says, we're also a 2-person household, so we eat on spaghetti for 3 days and still have a bit left over. Yeah, there you see. We are exactly in the same boat, you and I, on that account. Yeah, I just don't want to throw away a fortune just because, like, I don't mind eating the same 2 days in a row. So for easiness of things, that's what we often do. It always depends on what it is. I had some new meat that we hadn't tried out, or different kind of meat and how it was prepared, which we had last weekend, which was actually quite tasty. But we both agreed that because there was 4 in a pack, and I wasn't sure if one would have been enough, so I fried all 4. And afterwards, we both agreed that one would have been enough. So next time, if I buy a 4-pack, I will probably like take 2 of them and then freeze them in, because, yeah, for obvious reasons. Then I don't need to make them or make them instantly the following day and whatnot, right? We can just take them out whenever we feel like it. That said, we did also agree it's not something we would want to eat like on an everyday basis, but like once every, let's say, month and a half, 2 months would be fine. So, to do. Cracking on. as I said, I do expect to have enough yarn to finish this. I do still have one sand laying. It is, though, a different dye lot number, but I really checked and looked at them, and they looked very close to be exactly the same. So hopefully you cannot see the color change difference. That would be really sad. So I genuinely hope that's not going to be the case for me. Susan asked if I will keep a sell-out tote. That is a really good question, Susan. I don't know. What do you think? That is the big question. Let's see. So yeah, I don't actually know. Ideal, of course. I'm not sure if I really need it myself, but it could technically be used as a project bag, even though it has some holes in the top, because it's still like solid bottom down. So I could use it as a project bag, but I have many. So I could definitely also just look at retaining some profit, saying that would be a nice thing. Just like I have a few beanies I still need to get shuffled around, so to say. Susan says, I donate 95% of what I make because I can't use it all. That is the problem, right? We cannot use it all. It's also why I decided to start selling my makes, because, you know, some people would want it, and some people may not, but then you can always obviously option to donate it. Oh my goodness, my finger is really bad. Yarn finger. So let's see if the yarn wants to slide a bit further down. That could be the case, at least just for a bit. So that's a good question. I can't find out because it is a little bit skewed due to, but I think that's due to the grinding squares. I can't find out if it would be deemable as worth selling. It could be. Here I'll probably mainly just look to get my cash back, as in what's paid for the yarn plus a little or something like that if I would sell it. Could also give it away. Would people be interested in a giveaway for something I make? Because apparently I can ship to the US as something new. But I can only send gifts. I can't sell things. So if it's a gift, I'm allowed to send it. And to a maximum value of $80. Revenant wouldn't say no. Who knows? That could be an option. I don't know yet what I'll be doing for. I'm eventually going to have a podiversary again in May, and I haven't really decided what we're going to do by then. Maybe I'll be open to give away my makes. Susan says, finish it and then decide. Absolutely, finish it and then decide. I totally agree. that is what I'm thus working on. I like the fact it's a recycled cotton. It's sturdy. It's washable. And we can get around the no selling by divorcing the donation from the item. Wink, wink. Yeah, exactly. I didn't sell it, but it's a gift. That's most definitely an option, I would say. Of course, I did note nicely down the amount of cash I spent on that yarn, and I will compare that to everything else. So I will likely not get a bunch of yarn this year, no, because the goal is definitely to indeed decrease my stash. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, I think it would be very nice indeed. Roman says I've been good so far this year, so you've only bought yarn like once? I got yarn once for a project that I will eventually get back to. Fair enough, fair enough. I think that's fair enough. That's the same, you know, I bought yarns for a project that I will definitely be making this year. Wink, wink. That's what I did with my Hobbii order. Yes, all the best yarn sales were in November last year. That's definitely also true. There was some really, really nice sales in November last year. I have zero plans to buy more yarn this year, but I don't decline the option because so I had seen that oh, that's a new woolen yarn by Hobbii, where I was like, oh my goodness, and it's still for sale. I should go get it. And I was such a good girl not getting it. I don't know if it's still for sale today. It should be technically. Now I'm curious. Of course, mainly because I don't remember the name, I started looking. Could be it's no longer for sale. Well, they do have a bunch of stuff for sale, don't they? I get all itchy fingers. Me want yarn, but me don't need yarn. So me should not buy yarn. They are the cozy cakes. The cozy cakes by Hobbii are absolutely freaking gorgeous. I am just going to put over there just to show you guys what I'm talking about. Look, 40% discount still, 13 euros 20. It's 80% acrylic, 20% wool by Cozy Cakes. So it's Hobbii's Cozy Cakes, and they have these gorgeous yarns. And I really wanted to get this spring tuck yarn, like colorway 11. I think it's gorgeous. But I actually also like the Iris Wonder. Like a few of these yarns are really gorgeous. So I'm like, yes, I really need to have this yarn and make something of it. But it's only 700 meters. So you get 200 grams, but it's only 700 meters long. So I was debating, should I get 2 cakes and then try to make some of it? And then I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'll have enough yarn then. And what will I be making? I don't have a pattern on my mind and everything. And I decided, okay, I'm not getting it. And I was a really good girl. It's still in the store or in the stock. It's not in the bag that is on its way to me. So, of course, you will see a yarn haul video when we get there. I can't get yarn without showing that to you, of course. That's not working. But yeah, so I would really want to try that yarn at some stage. But it could also be that Hobbii end up letting it go out of stock before I get there. Because right now I just don't know on top of my mind what I would want to make from it. And I have so much different yarn otherwise that I decided against getting it for now. I said in the autumn that I would get it, like when I saw it first time, I think in November. Okay, I'll get this if it's on sale on my birthday and I get my birthday discount code. Thing is, it's on sale, but I didn't get my discount code, so no extra discount, which means Stina is not getting it. I'm a good girl. I did get some other yarns though. So I did get, of course, the solids. Then I got some yarns for a different project where I wanted to make. And I got some of the point yarn, and that's it. So I was very methodical. I exactly knew what I wanted. The point yarn I only have because I don't want my points to expire, and it is a nice yarn. And that's it. I have no plans for the point yarn, but you know, it matches other yarns I have from the exact same brand, colorways. So that's why I got it. And that's the only reason, like, you know, free yarn worth $50. Why would I not get that? And that's it. I didn't buy any other yarn. I was really proud of myself because that could have really gotten haywire. Me allowing myself to get yarns. I have a $5 voucher from Michaels I need to use before February 10th, but I will probably just grab 1 to 2 skeins. Makes sense. And then pay like $2. Yeah. Would you like order that online, or do you have a local Michaels you can go to? Susan says, oh, Yarnspiration's prices are going up and up, too costly as most of the yarns available cheaper elsewhere if you're a wise shopper. I've learned a lot about yarn sourcing from a good yarn YouTubes, especially back in the day. Definitely. And the thing is, a lot of the yarns in the US, especially like they are made in countries like Turkey or India. Some of them are even from China. Tariffs. We can go back to this yellow-faced man that you currently have in your administration sitting, and he claims to be the president, which is probably true. But he is all the decision he's making is costing the consumer money, right? Because it's not the businesses, it's not going to be the companies who's going to pay for the tariffs. That, my friends, is only going to be the consumers of the end consumers of those products. If it's materials that's used to produce a product in the US, that end product will also become more expensive because their resources has gotten more expensive. It's just basic trade 101. Basic economy. Revenant says he has a Michael's about 200 meters away from his house, which is dangerous. That is very dangerous, my friend. Can walk there in less than 5 minutes. My goodness. Sounds like brilliant, though, if you just if you run short of something and you know Michael's has it, you can always run and pick it up. The challenge is not to get anything else with you back home. I'm definitely happy that I don't necessarily have a yarn store in my backyard. That would not go very well. So once this round is done, we'll need one more round of the double crochets. And then one more round of singles. And then it's time to repattern. Bibbidi bibbidi. Susan says, I don't fall for the new yarn marketing, so as no yarn is truly new, just bought out from discounted status. Yeah, yeah, well, the news are definitely in a different world news. Some of them are different, but yeah, often there are similar yarns or same yarns from different stores, different labels, but very similar yarns. So there are definitely many yarn duplicates out there for sure. Oh yeah. Cracky crack. Many a time I've just this sport decided to go over there to browse and through no fault of my own falls into yarn falls into my shopping cart. Once there was you can't disappoint. Once there you can't disappoint the yarns by not getting it. Yeah, I totally agree. My yarn stash definitely also gotten out of control. Amongst things, I've really done a lot of online shopping during those COVID years. And at some stage, I think I was probably buying yarns maybe 3 to 4 times a month. Like 2023 was an expensive yarn year, so to say. That is a lot of the yarns I still have laying around, definitely. A lot from that period. I also got a fair amount in 2022 when I started back up. Some of that is still in my stash, not used. Think about that for a hot minute. But yeah, so I'm optimistic. I do need to attach the other yarn before we do have something to watch tonight. So I definitely also need to do that attachment at some stage. That would be nice. Then I can continue if I want to. I would say it's not also everything that we watch where I'm crafty, but if I can keep up being somewhat more crafty than I have been, that would definitely be nice. There are also some projects where I think I can bring different projects there. Like this, what I'm doing right now. If I knew that, I could definitely also easily have done that while watching a television show or something like that. Also, if you haven't done it yet, don't forget to give this live a like, because that happens to support me very so much. Gets us out there and it gets us new friends, new crafting friends. For the rest of January, currently the plan is to be live on the Fridays. The first week of February, I will not be there, and therefore I will, before leaving, ensure there's a yarn talk video for you guys to watch when I'm gone. Then otherwise, I've decided to walk around the plans and planning to be live on Friday the 23rd, and again on Friday the 30th. And then the next yarn talk video will be on the 6th of February. I will also, according to plan, be live on Monday the 26th, but on the 30th of January I will thus be off the following week, so to say. But I am ensuring there will be videos for you guys to watch, including the yarn haul from Hobbii. We also have a new Sort My Stash Ravelry edition coming up. The first one was just out, so there will come a new one. And then, of course, the yarn talk video. That is the current plan. And yeah, Ref, I'm sure it happened to minimum everyone in here. Most definitely. We all, at some stage, just accidentally got yarn. It's like, when you're browsing online stores and you put yarns into your basket, it just lands there spontaneously. Whoopsie daisy. Where did that yarn come from? I don't know, but it does need to come with me home. That is how I'm doing it. So we need to flip this one around to do one more row of double crochets as well as one more row of single crochets, because I don't think this is tall enough. I think this is about 4, maybe at best 3.5. So to get to 5, we need here. So as you can see, we're short of about 1.5, which is roughly a row. It could be that's going to be a few millimeters more, but that is not going to be the biggest issue. So that is what we're going to do. But look here. Not much yarn left. So I have to grab a skein of yarn. Hallelujah. So that's the thing. That is the yarns. This feels softer though. So there's definitely something different in the dye. But looking at the yarns, maybe it's a little bit lighter. Yeah, it's a little bit lighter. That is not so good. Or I would have to end here. And then attach the new yarn. That would probably be better, because honestly, when I'm really looking at it now, when I looked at it earlier, it seemed like there was no color difference. But reality right now is that it is a little bit lighter. And it might not be really visible, but I think it is slightly visible, if that makes sense. Like You will definitely find the transition if you know where it is. But it's not as crazy as what I've sometimes seen. I've really seen differences in colors. That's crazy. I don't know if I want to run this risk. Because I know where it is, then it's a little bit more like, it's more sensitive. But maybe it's not too bad. I don't know. Let's look at it like this. It's not too bad, maybe. These close enough? I know they're different lie lots, so. But I have the feeling this one is brighter. But it's really not by much. So what am I gonna do? Susan says it should be fine. It might be fine. But when I'm like, I guess it depends on how the light falls. My wife and I are watching through the Blacklist. James Spader is fantastic in it. Okay. It needs must, should be fine. Yeah, that's a real question. How the multi-dollar question. Will it be fine? Must be fine. Should be fine. I can just see a difference. I can see a visible difference. I don't like that. I could alternate rows. I don't have that much left to alternate a row with. I need to do double crochets. Maybe I have enough to do the single crochet row with this, but I'm not so damn sure, to be honest, if this one will last through all of the single crochets, because it's not that much yarn left. But if it would, that would definitely be an idea. You can give away the project. Yeah. If I give it away, it doesn't matter for sure. The thing is, so I'm not sure if I want to crochet up this and then realize that the color difference is too big. And when I look at it like this, I see a difference. Then when I stretch the yarn a bit, I see less difference. I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. Have to get going. We'll see where it ends. As you say, worst case, I can give it away, I guess. Susan says, I don't fuss because the items I make are not professional. No, it's just my OCD. Not that I'm having heavy OCD or anything like that, but I do like when things are correct and nice and neat and stuff like that. Like, it's a perfectionism gene. And a part of that is probably also why I used to compete so well, because I wanted to improve that. Roland says the Blacklist is a crime show where James Spader is playing a genius criminal who's working with FBI to eliminate powerful criminals he finds distasteful. A very fun show. What channel are you watching that on, the Blacklist? That sounds like a good one. So now I'm curious where you're watching it. Is it on Netflix? Oh, Netflix. Sweet. I will definitely have to find that on Netflix. I am watching a show on Netflix right now. I started on that's also it's actually a mafia one, which is called Peaky Blinders. That is the Peaky Blinders were a mafia gang that was in Birmingham, so in the UK, back in just around after the First World War. So these people come home, and some of them has heavy PTSD from the First World War, and they're like doing mafia stuff with racehorses and other stuffles, which is not at all bad. So that was actually quite good. The Blacklist, 10 seasons. My goodness, that's definitely not something that my partner would want to watch with me. But I added it to my little list of things. But I'm sure I would enjoy watching it. I do have quite a few series that I am wanting to watch. But yeah, so I did start on the Peaky Blinders, and I'm like through, I think, the first 2 seasons. I'm about to start season 3. Okay, so if this color difference is going to be really visible, I will be a sad person. So I hope that is definitely not going to be the case. We are stacking some double crochets here, or stacking 2 single to create the double. And that should be that stitch. So I should be able to work into this stitch. So yeah, definitely been good to watch the Peaky Blinders. I think it's described. Oh my goodness, I can't even do that in nice in English because I get the Dutch and then I need to do translation. I really suck trying to translate live. We instead have here Wikipedia. Peaky Blinders is a British historical crime drama television series created by Stephen Knight. It's set in Birmingham. It follows the exploits of the Peaky Blinders crime gang in the direct aftermath of First World War. The fictional gang is loosely based on a real urban youth gang active in the city from the 1880s to the 1920s. And it's actually quite good, I have to say. And actually Sam Neill plays in it as well as a sheriff or chief. Just fun facts. And I'm realizing now that it is indeed him, but I never really bonded the two because I think about Sam Neill as something completely different, back from the Jurassic Park days. But he's actually also in it, just for funsies. Yeah, I would say that's worth a watch. The next challenge is, of course, the Olympics are coming up here in February, the Winter Olympics, and I am bound to watch some of it. We do have a few new qualified athletes from, what is it called? From Denmark in events that's never qualified before. They are going to do skeleton and bobsleigh, which is something brand new for Denmark to do that. So that is actually pretty cool, to be honest. I think, at least I think so. We are trying to. Oh, I feel that. Oh, apparently my headset had gotten out. I hope you can hear me better now. Ha! Weird. But hopefully I am more clear to you now, because technically my headset should be the microphone, but apparently it might have gotten through either camera, not surprised if that's the case. And the thing is, I can't control it in the exact same way as I could with the stream setup. And I am very much so looking forward to my new computer arriving. But still no confirmation as to if it has been shipped. And I tried to think ahead, so I did shed out a bit more than I normally would. But I was thinking that I want something to be sure that it would last me a long time. That is why I ordered what I ordered. So I'm definitely looking forward to receive that. That said, I still haven't gotten the shipment mail because I had to transfer cash via bank transfer. And they will need to receive that transfer before they will send it, which means basically, in short, that it probably takes a day or two before they have the cash, because it's between countries. To clarify why, I have ordered with a company in Denmark a Danish keyboard, so a Nordic keyboard laptop. Because I use Nordic language still, and it is very handy dandy to have. And it just costs a bit more time and technicalities to obtain, but that's just how it is. So I am very, very keen to see if it is indeed gonna be the worthwhile investment. I do think so. I think one of the reasons that we are experiencing issues with this one is probably that the memory is not big enough for all the things I want to run at the same time. That is the main challenge we have, or that I have. So. And with Olympics probably being broadcasted on HBO, I will probably need to temporarily again have an HBO subscription, because I would like to watch it. I'd like to watch things that's not necessarily only the Dutch Olympic team, but I'd like to see some for the Danish Olympic team. The Olympics is in Milano Cortina, so it's in Italy. So that is time zone-wise very generous to us in Europe, because we are in the same time zone. So I'm just gonna see what the Olympics says. Last year it was HBO Max, like for the Paris Games, and I feel it's probably gonna be similar here. Let's see. I am in the Netherlands. Denmark, it would be Danish radio, TV2 Play, or HBO Max. I'd imagine in the Netherlands it's going to be NPO, which is our national broadcast television, and probably HBO Max. I just need to find the Netherlands. We're at M, so eventually it should come here. The Netherlands. We have the web and app NOS, which is the NPO. Same for TV, and we also have web and app for HBO Max. So the challenge, of course, with the NOS is that they will only focus on Dutch sporters, and that is logic because that is what people's interests are here in the Netherlands. But I will definitely need to check because the benefit about the HBO Max is that you can choose what sports you want to watch. You can pick between all the venues. It is actually like this. If you're an Olympic athlete and you're from the Olympic City, you do have access to the Olympic channels as well. So you can choose between, I don't know how many channels, but from each sport, you can basically see the constant live streams. But for each broadcasting union, it is up to them to decide, or broadcasting television station, what they would want to display. So, and that's usually what either they agree on with the other stations, what they are broadcasting. But it could also be what they believe is going to be the most wanted to watch from your country's point of perspective. I'd imagine like ice hockey would be a big thing to showcase amongst things in the US, right? Where maybe cross-country skiing would be less important, where cross-country skiing in Norway would be very, very highly popular to be broadcasting. And that's just basically based on where you're most likely to obtain medals and where there has been a good marketing for your sport within your country, or you have a proud tendencies for performance. So that was a bit fun facts on how television shows does around the Olympics. Figure skating is probably the most watched event in the US. Okay. I know it's also very competitive in Canada. Because I do have a Canadian friend who, for hobby, figure skates, but her son is reasonably good at it, actually. I don't know if he's so good that he would eventually go to the Olympics, though, but from a general average person perspective, he's good at it. He's better than average. Let's just say it like that. Yeah, exactly. Ice hockey is definitely a popular thing. Whereas the field hockey is very popular in the Netherlands. Put a pair of skates on the Dutch, and they don't know how to hockey at all. But put a pair of like Snickers on them and let them run a grass field with a hockey stick. Yeah, sure, they can hockey. Yeah, fun fact. And the fun thing is, the Dutch are extremely good at speed skating. They're very good speed skaters. Da-da-da. Guess what? This is almost complete. What does that mean? My yarn is gone from my stash. So I technically should start by updating Ravelry that it's gone, because else I forget and then my Ravelry isn't matching up anymore. Oh no, I shouldn't do that one just yet, because then I don't have any tail to weave in, which is not going to be very handy dandy. Anyhow, we got around halfway around, a bit more than halfway on this. But yeah, I was true. HBO Max would be the Window Olympics. Anyhow, Ravelry. Oh, Jesus. Why did I start to get the hiccups? Stash. And I have like what? adjusts quantity, that is probably going to be down to 0. I would assume. Confirm changes. So it's then all used up. And I'm curious how that lists. It still lists. Aha. So how do I do this? Like, I'm trying to figure out how I can mark it as, like, move this yarn, maybe. It's -2. All used up. Sweet. That works for me. I need to get used to this system. I'm working on it. So one more down. Hallelujah. I didn't start advertise for Cortina yet. But it's just a few weeks. It's just a few weeks. What date is it today? It's the 21st. I need to ensure that I have it noted down that I used one of these skeins, because obviously it is yarn consumption. So, done. Now I'm gonna hope that this indeed is not too big of a color difference, because else I will cry. I do believe they would usually do like that, but I would not. So let's do what I would normally do. And then it's probably not too bad of a difference. Maybe it's not too bad indeed. Let's see. But I do like the newer dialogue because it is a lot less rough compared to, not like the yarn is rough, but it's actually quite nicer. Okay, let's see. Can we see a difference? No, it's maybe not too bad. So I've done 2 stitches. Let's see. I'm just gonna get my screen back. Where is it? Here. These past 2 stitches are in the new color. The color change happens on this one. I think that's not too bad, actually. That is not too bad. Hello, Andrea! I'm sorry I didn't have time to watch your stream to the end last night, but you definitely got some nice gifts there in your Happy Mail. Thank you, Andrea. Remnant says currently I'm in deep in the negative for yarn this year. Yeah, you used 12 skeins and only bought 6. Oh, wait! Used double as many as you got. I definitely have bought more than I have used based on these numbers, but since my yarn haul video is first going to be in February, I think I am going to count that towards February summary, if that makes sense, even though I technically bought it in January. Andrea thanks me for having joined her stream last night and was happy to see me. Thank you. It was my pleasure. So I'm working here on the Daisy Daze Bag. which is a bit of a tote bag kind of ish concept. It has 6 granny squares, which you then sew together in a band and attach them. I use the mattress stitch to attach them, and then you make a button, and it is 1 row of double crochets in the right way around, and then you turn the work and work the other way around in single crochets, and then turn a work again to work the opposite direction for double crochets, etc. The last row I did here was single crochets, and then I sew the single crochets together here in the bottom. The seam is on the inside of the tote bag, which you normally also see on a tote bag, so that's actually pretty logic. And I need to do this row of double crochets. I need to finish that and do a row of single crochets. And then we need to read the pattern because we are going to make straps. I do have a link to this pattern with the English terms. It's a free pattern in the description box down below. I would say for you guys in the US, because obviously I'm using a recycled cotton from Hobbii. It is this Wheel of Yarn recycled cotton, 100% recycled cotton. I think you can use also to make this pattern like peaches and cream, for example, or what is it called? Lily and soft, and it's called something like that. But it's like peaches and cream-ish kind of concept yarn. You could use that as well to make this. I'm unsure of the exact length of a peaches and cream, but you would need 1 color of the whatever you would want to be the white here, so to say. And then my guess estimate is how many skeins would you need for the contrasting color or the dark color. I'm just trying to find the exact specs. So give me a minute. Give me a hot minute. Sugar and cream. That's what I wanted to find. Peaches and cream or sugar and cream. It's the same yarn, more or less, right? Sugar and cream. A skein is, in my optics, quite expensive. You get 109 meters, and here I have 85. You might be able to do it on 4, but I think you might need 5. So 1 skein of this, and you will only need half a skein actually for like what's here, white or cream. And then you'll probably need 5 skeins for the bag itself. It could be 4 would cut you round, but I'm afraid 4 could cut you short. 4.5. So 5 in total, basically, to complete it. Fun facts. I hope that was helpful for you guys, should you want to make it. But I think peaches and cream would come close to a cotton that could be used for this. Take care, Susan. Was wonderful to have you with us. I'm hoping that you're having an absolutely freaking amazing day ahead of you, which hopefully gonna get a bit warmer than what it was right now. Yeah, it's slightly lighter, but it is slightly like you can see that when I do this, right? Look, it's visible now. This bit to here, it's lighter. Dialogues. Fuck me. But it's only visible on certain lights. Like, because if I look at it like this, it's more visible on this camera screen than it is to my eye. Well, yeah, Susan had like 7 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that in New Jersey. Here it's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, just to compare, in the Netherlands, which is for our terms really reasonably warm. Peaches and cream and sugar and cream are the same yarn on different labels. Exactly, that's what I thought. And based on the yarn specs and everything, I would say that that yarn would work with this pattern. And also because it's being a cotton yarn, you know, it won't stretch and so on. So it could be that the bag will turn out a slightly bit larger, but it would be fine. You all do for nasty storms by the sound of it. Revenant says, now the rest of you have it worse, but Texas due for nasty storm this weekend. Icy mix and well below freezing, going to get down to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Jesus. And here I thought Texas was like desertly warm, always. Everybody I know is like always like, it's in the 70s, it's in the 70s, or it's above 100. And I'm like, yeah, I'd be sweating my ass off. So yeah, it's more visible on the camera actually than it is in the works. Yeah, on this side maybe a bit. It could be worse. It could be worse. It could definitely be worse. Part of me feels like maybe we should have changed on the end, which would have like been on the side. That would have been like 10 stitches earlier. Nah, it's done. It's done. Stop whining about this. Andreas in Virginia. Road closures, airport cancellations, school closures are possible Sunday across Virginia due major winter storm. Heavy snow expected Saturday evening into Sunday, potentially mixing it with sleet, freezing rain, southeastern areas. Oh my goodness. You are really all in for a really crazy winter, aren't you? That's what we had like a couple of weeks ago, except not that bad, but kind of bad enough at least, because the airports were having issues. They didn't even have enough de-icing fluid on stock, so there was really a lot of flights cancelled. Some of them, like one of the companies, were sending trucks to Germany to pick up de-icing fluid for the flights, and oh my goodness, it's cost them millions. Opposite should work. Weather Wacko, not Wacko weather. So it should work. You need to do weather first. We're going to get weeks worth of snow, they say. That's crazy. Conditions are cloudy with a temperature of 57 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 40 degrees Celsius. Well, I'll take that for hours if you want. Wind is blowing from south at 2 miles per hour and the current humidity is 90. Well, it's kind of like silence before the storm by that sound. That is indeed a bit chilly. Meanwhile, it's summer all the way down under. And a part of me definitely could hold out for the being half a year in New Zealand in the summer, being half a year in the Northern Hemisphere for the winter, or opposite, so to say. So it's always summer. I can definitely do that, but I'm not so sure if it's a realistic thing. At some stage, maybe your body also wouldn't be very pleased with this flying back and forth. I'd imagine that eventually you will come to a limitation as to what works and what doesn't. See, This is a slight difference down here. You can't see the difference that much. Up here, you can see it. So it's not too bad, but there is definitely a slight difference in coloration. It is very light. Yeah. Funny how things pass. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? We will see how this one is ending up looking. If I'll end giving it away. Not impossible. Meanwhile, in my headphones, I do have a bit of two cellos. Two cellos is a Croatian cello duo who takes all sort of popular numbers into cello. So all sorts of music has been translated into two cellos music. Right now they are doing, I do believe, who is the original artist of this? U2? Yeah. They have taken a U2 song, the Live With or Without You, and they have just turned it into pure cello music, so there's no singing. And due to just being able to hear the music, you know, something is happening, yet it's not somebody singing that will or could disrupt my concentration. So I really like a lot of the way that what they have done with these numbers and turned into purely acoustic music via cellos. Great. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on Spotify, etc. Cello. Yeah, it's probably my Danish intervening here. I would say cello or cello. It's cello, but it's cello. Okay, good to know. I will tell you a fun story about me learning to talk English many years ago. And it still feels like it was yesterday because I remember it for yesterday. I could not pronounce the word. Let's just say what I would say. You like, oh, so you're going to have a steak for dinner. So I couldn't pronounce the word steak, or say steak. It's a bit funny until I realized how you would pronounce the word steak. But I guess this is like talking Irish, right? They also have words where you're like, how on earth did those letters turn into this word? The Scottish have a few of the similar things. Everybody knows how Siobhan is pronounced. And if they can spell it, it's a different story. But they also have other crazy funny names where I'm like, okay, I would not have expected that. A friend of mine, or a person I know, friend is a big word, right? But we definitely know one another. Her name is, she has a Scottish name because she is Scottish. And I'm going to type it out for you guys. And then I'm going to ask you to just read it for yourself and then see if that is indeed what you would think it is. And then I will tell you afterwards, because I can tell you that is not what I originally thought it was. So many people would say this as serenade, because that's basically what it's saying, like if you read the letters only. thinking a little bit English, but it's Shona, which I would spell more like Shona, not like this. Fun facts. We are back on a single crochet round, which should be our last round of the single crochets. I'm just gonna again, I like having my first stitch marked. Ronald says your English is fantastic. I'm always amazed at polyglots. I only have bits and pieces of other languages, mostly because I've never used them. I was conversational in German back when I was in high school, but that has been 27 years. Crumbles into dust. Time flies, doesn't it? I am very conversational in German, I would say. As long as it doesn't get too technical or goes too fast, my German is pretty good. I am fluent in Dutch because obviously I live here and I have been for, 17 years already. Think about that for a hot minute. 17 years I've been here. And then, of course, Danish, it's my native, and English. In school, when I went to school, it's different now because they actually have English obligatory at a much earlier age than I did. But back when I went to school, for me, it was obligatory to get English in 4th grade, which is when you are around 9 to 10, depending on the year you're born, etc. It could be that you have just turned 10, and it could be that you're still 9 when you're starting to learn it. In my case, I was 9. And that's when you start with it. And you mainly start like watching cartoons, and it's like maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours a week at best you have these lessons. Then in 6th grade, we could get German. I believe, yeah, it's 6th grade. We would add, no, that was in 7th. Sorry, in 7th grade we would get German if we wanted to. German was not obligatory; that was a voluntary subject, but it was put high note on if you wanted to proceed to like high school, which for us, we first started high school when we were like 15, 16. High school in Denmark is 3 years. You need a high school education to go to, let's say, university. But you don't necessarily need to take high school. You can also go straight to, let's say, a carpenter's degree or a hairdresser's degree or whatever sort of education you would like to do, which is more like manual hand labor work, farming school. I don't know. There's multiple options. Or mechanic for that sense. But if you wanted to take high school because you wanted a university degree, you would need to have German or at least a secondary foreign language next to English. And my school offered German and French. So I could wait a year and then take French in 8th grade. Or I could do both German and French. But the thing is, for us, it was quite simple at home. My dad definitely was not a good person to ask for help for homework because he's dyslexic. And my mom was clear with me saying I could choose which language I wanted, but her advice was generally for me to pick German because that was the language she had in school, so she would be able to help me somewhat with the German. And therefore, I ended up picking German. And I was mixing up German and English the first couple of years. So I never picked French. I could have had French as a 3rd language in school, but I didn't. And I never had French, and I don't have a feel that I need it, but I can speak somewhat French, do travels, learning, etc. over the years, right? Of course, I then also understand and speak to some extent, but more understand Scandinavian languages like Swedish and Norwegian, and that is due to, again, being Danish. because our languages are very similar to one another. While it's not like as close as US or UK English, or for that sense, Aussie English versus UK or American English, it is reasonably close enough for you to get a really good idea of what's being said and spoken, as long as the dialect isn't too heavy. We almost have the color change, my friends. Can you see where it happened? Almost not. It's right there. That's more because I can see it on the... Obviously, I have the color change on the inside. Then when you say it, the color kind of pops, but it's not too bad. So I agree with Susan on that. It's a shame she's gone. She would have agreed. So yeah, I don't know if we'll reach to be finished with this tutorial. I don't think so, but we are making a really good effort on doing so. It could be that we'll have to finish this one on Friday. The benefit on finishing that one on Friday is that I could potentially get started on this rug. You know, we talked about in the very beginning of this live. Let me just find that yarn again. I have this yarn caked up for a rug that I want to make. This 100% acrylic. It's a premium. It's not a premium acrylic, but it's a good value acrylic. But it feels nice and soft. And I have 7 of these. I only kicked up the first one because I definitely will take a bit for me to get through this yarn. It's 100 grams, so 3.5 ounce cake to 240 meters, which is about like 260 some odd yards, 270 maybe, close to 270. Somewhere between 265 and 270 yards is the skein. And we're gonna make that waffle chicks rock with it. I think it's gonna be really nice in these colors. And you know, maybe, I don't know if that's too optimistic to find time to maybe get us started on that no later than tomorrow, because then we have that one ready for, instead of trying for me to finish this one up in between, because I really feel that due to it being a new stitch, it could be really useful for me to maybe just start on it and then, you know, we can work on it together once I got it started. That's my thinking right now. Yes, I agree with you, Andrea. This is the most gorgeous blue. It's a royal blue. Absolutely gorgeous royal blue. I love it. And that is a project for myself. It's a variable for myself. So it's made in the waffle stitch, but I've never done the waffle stitch before. So I need to do a little bit of research. I also need to read through the pattern once more, but it seemed pretty simple. It's basically measure out the length you want. And I'm probably wanting a little bit more sleeve on it. And in that event, I will have to make it a longer rectangle. I do have enough yarn for that. And then it's just about me figuring out how and what, but I should be fine. Andrea says, I wore a royal blue jumpsuit for my high school after party. Yeah, we tend to remember these important events and what we wore sometimes, right? Don't we? We don't have after parties in the same way in Denmark, at least, which to some extent is pretty sad and maybe also not too bad. But it is definitely a very gorgeous color. I am looking forward to work on this and then give you guys feedback if it's a pattern I think is worth investing in. The pattern is on Ravelry, so I can go ahead and find for you guys. It is definitely different yarn than used in the pattern. I will admit that. But I think we will be fine because, you know, it's an acrylic and it's reasonably soft and so on. Let's see. Yeah. It says I can download it here, but I just want to get the back page of it. Here we go. Because I don't remember if I put it here in the description, did I? Probably not. I can't spot the description right here, so I'll just share it here in chat. Waffle chick truck. It's purchasable on a Ravelry right now, and it's €5.60. No, $5.63. So 5.5, so to say, ish. I think it looks nice. I just want the sleeves a tiny bit longer than this. I'd like them to be just above elbow height. So like I'd like my sleeves to go to E. Let's see where I can do this without. I want the sleeves to go to like here-ish, right? Like this is the inch, so like just around there, something like that. This shirt makes me look like I have no elbows when I was doing that, but the matter of speaking, like them to be maybe a few inches shorter than my arms to the elbows. Was my thinking. And from what I read, it's basically a rectangle waffle stitch pattern, which you then join and do some extra stitches around. So it should be reasonably simple. And the height depends on, obviously, arm width and so on. So I have to get some measurements done. It is quite pretty. I don't know yet if I would recommend the pattern because I haven't done it yet. It's just in my queue for my next crochet project. So once I'm done with this, we'll have to start on that. But I also have my knit projects I have going on, right? Which is my behind the TV projects, in the car projects and stuff like that. I haven't jumped into starting on a sweater yet. But I do have the cowl, which I have done maybe one row since Friday. But that is also, as I said, intended for being a car project and for being, yeah, an easy to bring with me project. I'm probably gonna bring that with me to The Hague, I think. So in 2 weeks' time, it doesn't, 2.5 weeks' time, 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time I'll be leaving, so 2 weeks' time. I'll be in The Hague for an event where I'm a volunteer helping for the event, but I'm also I also have a stand there with my mate-to-mate hearing protection business, which thanks to all the globalization that's happening currently due to the political aspects of the US wanting to pick up Greenland and tariffs is probably going to be a more expensive challenge for me because my products are coming from the US. So I'm really happy that I last spring purchased a reasonably big stock because I was anticipating that the EU would put tariffs back on Americas for import, which they didn't. But with the last play out, Trump says, if Denmark doesn't sell Greenland, we will put on extra tariffs. I think that the EU is going to say, okay, enough is enough. We'll put tariffs on all import from the US. So it's really not going to help anyone. It's just going to make it all more expensive for all of us. In other words, If anybody needs a new iPhone and you're in Europe, you probably should get it ASAP. I hope mine lasts till around when he's done being president. Andrea says she understands. Yeah, well, it's a mess. But anyhow, that was the second ramble of me today, being annoyed about people wanting to trade people, not to trade with people. Yes, I think a lot of people are really concerned about the tariff situation. I also know, but at least that is what the Danish embassy in America is saying, that they receive a lot of letters and communication from the general US public, so you, from general citizens, that they love Denmark and they don't want US to get Greenland and stuff like that. It's just because there's this greedy guy sitting there being like, I want it. And the problem is he probably promised it to people or something, I don't know. But there are definitely, he's definitely a bit obsessed with it. And it's not just like a property, right? It's a country owned by people. People have their own things. You can't just sell that over their heads. Nobody has that right. Even Denmark doesn't have the right. Andrea will be taking some time to read up on the plan. Well, the plan is just crazy, generally thing. So tariffs, there's only one person paying for tariffs, that's the end consumer. And if tariffs are added on to products that you import, it's not the companies importing them that will pay the tariffs, that's you guys. And the same goes for us. If we import things out of the US and there will be slammed 25% tariffs on top, prices are going to be so crazy. Oh, if the companies selling the products may want to decrease prices, but if they do that, then you know already how big of a margin they have been earning until now, I guess. So the likelihood that they will is small. The more likelihood what you will see is tariffs increase the prices, and once the tariffs, if they will be removed, which probably they will by the next president, like, not that I know, it could be that they won't, but I hope there's a more sane person out there, understanding that if you ask the end consumer to pay for your country's debts, there is a fundamental flaw in your spending. So the end consumer is in the end the person going to see the bill. But what you also see is prices rise on things, and a lot of stores, while the prices rise, they will not decrease them once the prices drop again. So this past year, prices has risen on coffee, and the reason for that is because there has been bad harvests in Brazil and so on, like in Southern America, has been poor harvests on coffee, where they normally have better harvests, and henceforth the supply and demand changed and made the coffee more expensive. That is why you're paying probably $1 more per pound of coffee. What then happens is that now they're going into a good harvest, lots of coffee, but the coffee companies who are buying the coffee may pay whatever, but they're not decreasing the prices if they pay less for the coffee. They just cream that profit. If the company actually drop the prices, they will drop it by, let's say, like they increase the prices, let's say by 20%, and then they might drop prices by 5%. So in the end, you still had an increase of 15, and those extra 15% ends in the company's coffers and the suitcases of them, like in the bank accounts. Yeah, that is what I'm seeing here. The prices since the war between Russia and Ukraine and Europe on meat has risen dramatically. We are talking about since the COVID years and the war with Ukraine. So a combination of COVID plus the war with Ukraine. And the reason for this is also, for example, if you take chicken meat, the prices on chicken meat here has increased by about 35 to 40% since 2021. And that is due to combination of, as I said, the COVID, but also then afterwards, the war with Ukraine. And that sounds crazy because it's not like Ukraine is mass producing chickens, but what Ukraine does mass produce is grain. Grain and corn. They produce a lot of in Ukraine. But obviously, those farmers don't really have the time to produce that because they are much more worried about the current situation in their country. Some of them are still able to continue to do what they're doing, but there is also a lot of places which has been destroyed and whatnot due to the war. And that has driven up prices on grain, on feed for these animals, henceforth, then also increased prices on bread and much other things, but especially on the meat, because it costs much more to feed your animals until they are ready for slaughter. And the price increase has been hidden in both inflation prices, but also in shrinkflation. And by shrinkflation, I mean that you're paying the same for your large pack of chicken breast fillets, but you are getting less, which means that it might have been a kilo, now it's only 900 grams. So they removed a tenth, but you're paying the same as when you did buy a kilo, which is basically an increase on 10% plus, right? A bit more actually, but roughly 10%, just for the easy math. Revenant says nicely here, he's a freaking toddler. Greenland thing is a temper tantrum because he did not get the Nobel's Peace Prize. Yeah. That could also maybe be said. I think we're actually around now, so I need to put in a stitch marker, measure, and then we are gonna read a pattern. You can't, like, if I do like this, I still feel you can see the difference because this top one is different, right? The single crochets. But I don't see it visually in my eyes, so I don't know. It's so little. I'm gonna be okay with it. I know I'm going to be okay with it. It is okay. We are a millimeter short, so I'm not gonna do an extra round. Nope, because then I won't have yarn to finish it. I'd rather have a quarter of a skein left than a quarter of a skein too little because I don't have more. This is like my last skein, so. I am basing this opinion on the letter he sent to Norway. Yeah, and I'm sure Denmark agrees with Norway. So what Trump really forgets, so Norway apparently many years ago, and I've never thought about that, was the original owner of Greenland because it was the Norwegian Vikings that went to Greenland in the first place. But many years ago in 1600, whatever, maybe it was in the 1500, whatever, actually, we had a Danish queen, Queen Margaret I. And she ended up becoming queen of what's called the Kalmar Union. The Kalmar Union was a combination of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, a large part of Sweden. But later on, I think it was his son that might have lost it or whatever. But anyhow, or not completely lost it because we lost a part of Sweden, but we still had Norway. But in the beginning of the 1800s, where again, Denmark decided to side with Napoleon. Pretty bad choice because obviously Napoleon didn't succeed in the long term. And due to that siding, we were forced to give up Norway. And we then got to, well, actually what we were doing, we were giving up Norway to Sweden. So Sweden got Norway. And then we get to keep the Greenland, and that's kind of how Greenland ended up being Danish, but it's been there all the times, I know, and they have progressed to a more and more chance of independence. So it's not colonized in the sense of, but they did colonize back in the years of, like, during the periods where they were still Danish, because there was a perception of when the king were Christian, of course, everybody on all territories should be Christian as well, and so on. Okay, top section, blah, blah, blah. Finishing one single crochet on the wrong side. I did that. We are done. Now work the side sections. Lay flat the bag and insert a stitch marker each side, 6 stitches between the markers. You do not work the middle 32 stitches of the front and the back. Work only the 34 stitches on each side. Cut the strand. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Well, lay the back flat. We are having a one stitch here, which would be, let's say, would like work this way around, basically. So this is the ending stitch. So this would be the first stitch. I need to count and I need to find the stitch markers. This is like wonderful. Has been peppermints in, but it's the most wonderful box, obviously, because it holds all my stitch markers and a tension ring, which I never use. We are gonna go purple. Purple is a good color. So they're suggesting 66 stitches and then 66 stitches on the other side should be matching. I have a feeling it's not gonna match because we just concluded earlier either I can't count or 66 stitches between the markers. So it's technically 67, right? Because I have a marker, so it's gonna be 66. And that's in between. So let's do 66 count, and then the following stitch we'll have to set a mark and then see how far we are. That is go for now. Let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 60, 2, 4, 6. So that should be here, technically speaking, which is pretty close, I would say. But let's just see how many stitches you now then have on the other side. It should be 66. If that's so, then I definitely couldn't count stitches when I was counting before. Oh my goodness. So I started crocheting and knitting and I learned I can't count, even though I also thought I was pretty decent in counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. 2, 4, 6, 8, 40. 2, 4, 6, 8, 50. 2, 4, 6, 8, 60. 2, 4, 5. I'm a stitch short. Or I make one more stitch there and I move that stitch one back, which fits much nicer here, which I'll do. That works, that solves. Counting comes for us all. It definitely does, doesn't it? In this case, for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm making this extra stitch and then we'll count once more and see if we're still having the same issue. We'll probably do. Technically, it should match up. Like if my counting is correct. Isn't that always the case? Like if my counting is correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. 2, 4, 6. Actually, I'd like to count the other direction because it's just counting easier because the stitches cantle a little bit and it counts so much easier going the other way, other direction. So I need to have 66 in this way. So I have the stitch mark on 66 between. So stitch marker 67, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20, 2, 4, 6. Yes! Okay, so we'll go on the other side. It should match as well, not including that stitch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 4, 6, 8, 30, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 60, 2, 4. I missed a stitch because this can't match. I think I skipped one. 2, let's see here, not included. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 8, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 60, 2, 4, 5. Still a stitch short. Sob. How can I be a stitch short? Well, this is nicely on the side. I'm really not thinking that single stitch is going to make a big of an issue. This is also on the end. And it's let's make this. I could move it one stitch, that would actually be fine. But then I'm going to be short, aren't I? A stitch too little, but then I can unravel that stitch if that's going to be the case. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Let's try again. Sorry. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. 2, 4, 6, 8, 40. 2, 4, 6, 8, 50. 2, 4, 6, 8, 60, 2, 4, 6. Stitch marker. Fits. Let's try on the other side then. Stitch marker 67, so we need to have 67 after this one, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, 50, 2, 4, 8, 60, 2, 4, 5. Technically 6 then. So I'll need one more stitch, which I could do. Okay. Not exactly how I planned it, but sure. I'm trusting it. Numbers fit. So, okay. Lay the band flag. You do not work the middle 32 stitches on the front and back of the bag. Work only the 34 stitches on each side. Mark the markers in the stitch. The markers sit in the middle of these 34 stitches. So I need, it's not a stitch itself, I need to be in between stitches. Gotcha. Then my numbers did match at the beginning. Ta-ta. Which then would be one stitch back, wouldn't it? Technically speaking. Nah, it's fine. Then it should be an even number. So how do they get to this 66 stitches on each side of the marker? So that's why I'm thinking 67, but it's not true. The 66 is including the marker. That is including the marker. So I need the extra stitch there, and I need to move this one back. Then it matches. Okay, cool. That should match then. And then it says you do not work the blah 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 stitches in front and back. Side section. So I'm gonna look at this again. Yeah, you will have to work over those. So what I'm thinking is I will need to weave in ends here, probably. Because else I don't see how they will make the side section. Yeah. Side section. Work 70 stitches before the mark on one side of the bag using this color. Work 1 double crochet in each of the next 34 stitches. At the same time, decrease 2 double crochets on each side. They want us to, yeah. I hate cross patterns. Why am I getting myself into this every damn time? Because I don't know. Good. So we have to weave in ends. So that is what we'll do, my friend. Cut yarn, thread needle, weave an end. And I can see in the time that definitely we're not finishing this one today. Well, we're only missing the sides, so we're only missing the straps, basically. Like the sides plus straps. That is pretty awesome, honestly. Like, that is pretty darn awesome, if you ask me. We are getting really nicely closer to finishing up. Then actually I'd rather have it other way around, so because then I can weave in the ends on the inside. Let's do that. Which means stitch technically. Yeah, so what we are gonna do is I am going to check for the center based on those end stitches before we attach the yarn. But we should be fine. We should be fine. I have to say this yarn, even though it is a bit on the rougher end, it really makes nice stitch definition, doesn't it? So what we are going to do, we are probably going to have to go down here. And go back for a bit. Right. Tail weave then. Woohoo! I like a lot. Could actually now when I'm weaving and then go for the other 4 ends now when I'm at it of 3 technically. That would actually make good sense. I also have to do them all at the end. It's not going to be too bad. It's got to be another 4 ends. So that's like, I still have 3 ends left, not woven in from our yarn changes and so on. Do-do-do-do. This is going brilliant. I think we're actually in the row of the granny squares weaving in these ends, but it's a little bit tight, but then it's going to be nice and snug. It won't that easy come undone, so to say. Let's see. We have this one. Where can we take you to? Probably need to go up here. No, I can't do that. That was not on the right side of the thread. So. Who would have thought weaving innings would go so swift today? I for sure wouldn't. But it's nice when it does. We're heading towards one of these center points. It could be that I'm a stitch short, but I'm not gonna be too worried about that if it just ends up looking nice. How many at the same time? Decrease 2 double crochets on each side. Decrease tip 2. Continue back and forth 1 row single. Until the strap measures 50 centimeters. Yikes! Will I have enough yarn for that? I'm starting to be concerned if I have enough yarn. I'll have to see. I guess the worst case is I still have some of this white. I can add a row of white somewhere. Or I'll have to get yarn to finish up the project, which could be a completely different dye lot, which would then really suck badly. So I'm trying to read here. So it basically says, why am I gonna do this? So it basically has 8 stitches in the strap. So it's probably gonna be fine. But it says here, side section starts 17 stitches before the marker, blah, 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 and I need to decrease 2 double crochets on each side for 4 more times. So that's 8 and 8. So 34, -8, -8 on both sides. 16. Then decrease 1 double crochet in each row of doubles until I double crochets 3 times on each side. Whoa, 8 stitches. Cut and fasten. So the real question is if I really need to do that and then sew it together, because that's the fun thing is so they want me to kind of build up this plateau on one side and then on the other side build up the plateau and do the strap and attach that to the plateau on the other side. I could also just increase and get the same result and then sew it on straight on this. Wouldn't that make much more sense? Do we actually see like a side on this where it's sewn on? Probably not. This is probably where I'm thinking maybe I need to do my own logic. But on the other hand, of course, if I do what they're asking me to, it would probably look nice on each side. yeah, I guess that's going to be. Okay, so read decrease tip 2, it would be, and then decrease tip 3. Let's just say what they do. Decrease 2 double crochets by working 3 double crochets together. Easy. Okay. Beginning of row, work 1 double crochet in the first stitch, then work 3 double crochets together as following. End of row until there are 4 stitches left on the row. Work 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, but wait with the last yarn over and pull through. Work 1 double crochet in the next stitch and pull yarn over. Oh, okay. So basically, they do a normal and then they decrease, and then they do all the normals. Fair enough. Fair enough. This is where we have the start of it. So what we are to do is probably ensure a stitch count. So we are going to need 4 stitch markers. And this is probably going to be more counting than it's going to be actual crocheting for this bit, is what my feeling is. So, yeah, of course, we need to work on this side of things, I would say. Oh, sorry for the yawning. Yeah, because if we want to keep the slant of the stitch in the correct direction. Okay. So that's the real question. Are they slightly aligned to the left? So that's going to be including 17. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. 2, 4, 6. Oh, ships. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, which is good. Then we include this one and the 17 on this side. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17. Probably I need to insert it from the other side for practical reasons. And then we'll just double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. That's not good. I missed something. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, which is like another 2 stitches behind. So I definitely did not count correctly there. That is why we always extra count. So now, including both stitch markers, I should have 34 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 34. Sweet. So that is the first side. Then we are gonna flip this one around. Now the real question is, of course, I need to have about as many stitches in between, but also when I just purely look on the stitch marker is compared to, then I would say this is the including stitch. Good. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, fits. 2, 4, 8, 2, 4, 8, 2, 4, 6. No wonder I can't count anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's killing me. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Mother of Lord, it's not a kind day to me. 2, 4, 8. No, 2, 4, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Yes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Matches. Matches. The big question is now, is there equally the same amount of stitches between these markers? That is the big question. If there is, I succeeded. If there isn't, then I'm probably going to be a stitch short on one of them. Let's see. So we're talking between, not including, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 32. That is actually what should be. Now I'm curious if there's also 32 between these two. If there is, we are perfect. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 30. There's one stitch too many. One stitch too many. But, you know, it's... No, it's the problem is it's kind of done right, but it's one stitch too many. But I really don't think that single stitch is going to ruin this whole thing, do you? Optionally, I need to slide it all somewhere. But I'm not really sure where. So I really don't think that stitch, because it's not like these are going to be sewn together. And holding them like this, it's not a big difference actually. It's one stitch on 32 or 33 stitches. Do you really think people are going to count that? I don't think so. Could always add and increase if they're off by 1. Yeah, I could, but I need to decrease in this case. And it's on top, so I can't really change anything that's in there between. Oh, that's the extra stitch I ended up making, which I thought I needed. Oh, could also be. But this is like very much center, so I don't want to change anything there. This, though, is the center. It's kind of one off. So what I can do that makes it an extra stitch in this. And then so I'll do the decrease 2 and decrease 2, but I can also decrease 1 in the center, and then we're on the right number. Oh. Solved. I think. Let's just count that it's now 32 in between, which it should be. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 32. Fits. Check this 32 here too. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 32. There is. That's going to be the solution. that where the stitch mark is, I'm going to have to decrease a stitch as well. The only thing I'm really in doubt of, but I think I'm gonna hold that all to the same side then, because you know this is kind of the side where I've kind of jumped the rounds up and stuff like that and done my stack doubles, and you can see it slightly. It's not bad, but like you can see it's like a working side. So if I have to work it like they want me to work it, I think I'll also want to sew it together on this side, if that makes sense. So I'll have to like sew it together up here-ish, because that's kind of gonna be that side then. That is what we are gonna be doing. So this is one with the extra decrease, which means that I'll have to insert an extra stitch marker, because don't forget. So we'll have 2 stitch markers here indicating that I need to do a double decrease there. Then we should be fine. So we're gonna insert the yarn and we're gonna work a double crochet, stack double. And then we're gonna decrease these 3 into 1 stitch. And then we're gonna do double crochets, and then 4 stitches before here, we're gonna do on the 3, gonna work 3 in together and 1 double crochet, and then we'll turn the work around and we'll do the single crochet back and forth like we did until now. So that is what we're gonna do, but we don't really have that long. I can see on the clock. So the real question here is how we are gonna do this. We need an end to weave in and cotton. The challenge here with the stack double is pretty possible. So let's just see if we can work that from a chain start. We probably could. Probably could. So this is my sidekick. Then we'll need to work those 3 together. Let's just weave in that in while we are at it as well. Not yarn over the second time. And there we are. Goody. And then it is a double crochet in each stitch. So that is what we'll do. Crazy how time flies today. That happens in good company, my friends. That happens in a good company, and you have been the most amazing company today, as always. As I said, I am slightly undecided as if I can start on the other project and have it ready for go on Friday, or if we are finishing this one off together, or if I'll end up finishing this off, or what I'll do. I can imagine that what I may want to do is get started on that project, because if I have time for it at least, because I do have a few other things I need to get done as well. But if I do have time for it, I might get slowly started on it, because that would just make my life easier. I'm just keeping the center marker just in case if I want to count something. But it's not that center technically, it's one off to the side. Yarn tells me it needs to get unwinded a bit, so we'll unwind a bit. I thought I had enough yarn, so I had ended up making one round extra. Now I'm really in doubt if that was a wrong decision, but we'll have to find out when we are finishing up the strap. That said, if it's only a few centimeters short, I am not going to buy more yarn. That's just going to be how it's going to be. But if I'm visible short, then I will have to figure out what I'll do. Wait. I need to decrease. So now I am doing it wrong. I need to decrease 2 here because I have 4 stitches left and the last 3 before the 4. So I need to decrease. So we do a yarn over, pick it up, and yarn over in the next stitch and pick it up, and don't pull through the last loop. And do the same. So we have 4 loops on the hook, and we'll pull through all 4. Then we take out that stitch marker, and we're working a normal double crochet. And henceforth, we decreased by 4 stitches already. That was the first piece of the whacking up. Then we'll flip it around and we'll do single crochets all the way across. Then we again do a double crochet and then work 3 double crochets together. And we do that for a few times so it's a bit, so it goes thinner and thinner and thinner. That's basically what's going to happen. But it's not going to happen now because it is 5 p.m. My friends, we are getting closer and closer to finishing up this, but it definitely takes time. Part of it is, of course, all the counting. But I am then genuinely looking forward to be able to complete this fully. I do feel a little bit of a stretch could be a good thing. But generally, I think it's working up nicely, I would say. Wouldn't you? Ronan says, have a wonderful rest of your day, and until we meet again next, may peace and good fortune favor you. Thank you so much. Hopefully good fortune would definitely favor me and peace as well. That would be wonderful. I am gonna figure out if I'll get started on this rock and then we'll have this one for Friday, or what I'll do. Kind of depends on time, etc. available, as I said. But I will be here on Friday. I think that's the most important part. I will most definitely be here Friday for you guys. That's the plan, to be here Friday. Probably around 2 p.m. Central European Time, plus or minus a few, but pretty close for sure. And then I should be live again Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. So I'll have 3 lives next week, according to the plan. So therefore, I'd like to have some projects ready to start going on. So we have a bit to shift between if we want to. So yeah, there is definitely a few lives coming up. Thank you so much for watching. Meanwhile, who knows, maybe before then I'll have a new computer, but I don't think it's going to happen this week because, as I said, I haven't received their shipping notice yet. And once it's here, it's not just turning it on and it's all ready. I need to set it up, and that is going to take some time, unfortunately. I'm just quickly checking if they should have shipped it meanwhile, but I'm not convinced. I unfortunately do not have a shipping message, so I'm afraid it's not yet shipped, sadly. But we'll wait patiently. Also, it's going to be next week. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I am absolutely happy to be in your company. It was a wonderful time. We did make great progress on the Daisy Daze Bag, but we didn't finish it yet. I would say we are pretty close to finishing because we are only needing to work on the holding straps. So we are definitely closing on here. If you have watched the live from the beginning until the very end, until here, thank you so much for doing that. That really means a lot to me. It's a big, massive support. Thank you for your likes and hanging out. Take care and happy crafting. Until I see you again in my next video. And I will be back, as I said, on Friday.